One of the drawbacks to Unrivaled was always going to be injury. There was an injury threat. There's always going to be an injury threat when you're playing basketball, a high intensity sport, a contact sport at times. And there, that's not Unrivaled's fault. That's the nature of the business. That's the nature of sports and competition. But that was the risk that anybody runs when they run on the court, whether it's overseas or in Unrivaled. And Unrivaled had to deal with the player pool and how they make up for injuries and people being out, and that's something I think they're definitely going to have to adjust for next season. But there was an injury to watch, or at least an issue to watch when it comes to Angel Reese in the most recent Unrivaled contest, and this hasn't gotten much mainstream attention. Maybe because it wasn't made mention of on the broadcast, I don't believe. But regardless, Angel Reese was apparently seen favoring her surgically repaired left wrist. She had a hairline fracture in that wrist. She had it repaired between the WNBA season ending and the start of Unrivaled. So it didn't put her on the shelf for long, of course, but a little concerning to see her favoring that same wrist in the Unrivaled game. And I see a bunch of people sharing like her missed layups. That's not the story. I get it. That's an easy thing to throw out there, and it's become a meme basically. And she had a couple of rough shots in that particular game. But the story to watch is this, because hopefully Angel has not re-injured that surgically repaired wrist badly or anything like that. But there was some video circulating. I mean, this is tough to see. It's not great video, but nonetheless, it's Angel with a towel over her head there on the bench. And then she eventually winds up leaving, apparently headed to the locker room. So there was that. And then after the game, the Rose BC coach was asked about it. And according to this post from Moro Sports Media Production Company, who covers Unrivaled a lot, no update on Angel, but hopefully we'll have one soon, sending her our best wishes. That from Nola Henry, the coach of her team. So no update. We hope to have one soon. I'm assuming Reese went in for imaging to, get an X-ray, perhaps an MRI. I don't know, how that would work, but obviously hope she's good. And that she did not, because I don't know what the healing would be like if it were, to re-injure in the same place. Obviously, the WNBA season isn't that far off. It would be a blow to the league and of course the sky if she were to have to miss any time. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. Hopefully that was just precautionary, right? Hopefully it was just precautionary. But I think when you see Reese leave the game, and it happened, she left somewhere in the third quarter, and then the coach say there's no update, we hope to have one soon, it puts it on the radar. It puts it on the radar. And that's all. Just worth monitoring and worth knowing about, because it's an important piece of information or something that happened to one of the biggest stars in women's basketball. Now, with Reese, again, I told you people were sharing articles and clicks about her layups and whatnot, because when I'm looking for the injury news or the latest updates, that's all I see on my timeline is like Reese blooper reels and whatnot. And, here, one, again, that's easy engagement for people. Let's show you just one. I mean, there are also accounts called like Hater Report and stuff. So you get the branding, but they show like this, and obviously not a play for the highlight reel, but certainly not the story from last night's game. But I want to use that to make a point about Angel in general. And this is where I don't think her podcast helped her out the other day, because on that Unapologetically Angel podcast, she, and again, I quoted her correctly here. If you watch me here, she did not say she's sitting out. If they don't give us what you want. She did not say that. She was narrating what other folks have said, right? And basically, it was through the perspective of, this is what I've heard from my peers. Now, regardless, where I think that the error was made is because she is the most recognizable player in the sport, outside of Caitlin Clark. Up there, I mean, it's like Paige and Angel probably, I would say, and then Juju on the company. It's those, that grouping. Um, and because Angel has a certain bravado about her, people rush to, get that comment section going with her. And her podcast fed into that by presenting what she had said as hearsay as a direct quote. And it was a direct quote in the sense of she said those words, but she didn't say they were coming from her. But the mistake that made was it made her the face of WNBA labor negotiations and the idea of the players sitting out. And now you've got these accounts who want to mock her and go, oh, you want more money? Here's a missed layup, right? And that's what's happening. That's what's happening, especially when it came on the heels of that fake NBA pay quote. So I thought that was a mistake by her people, and as a result, attached to her, and it's her to own because it's her podcast. Now, she's clearly put in the work at Unrivaled, and you don't see that same, coverage, right? Lisa Leslie's talked about working with her. We've seen some of the results. We've seen, even when you have the missed layups, one of the things people ignore is she keeps getting the ball, which is the best unteachable asset and trait that she has, is that relentless pursuit of the basketball and motor. That's special. That aspect of Angel Reese is special. And you're taught to follow your shot from the beginnings of basketball, right? So it's not a negative that she keeps getting her own rebounds. It's a negative when she's not finishing, but that's also, something you hope she obviously improves on. It seems like she's put a lot of work to improve on. But that wasn't the story from the most recent game, the final regular season game for her and Unrivaled. It was her leaving due to favoring at least that wrist, which was the same wrist that was surgically repaired. And that's concerning. I think it's, fair enough to say she hasn't said anything publicly about it. We haven't gotten any updates from the league about it. And the coach said she didn't have any updates. As far as Unrivaled goes, again, injuries are going to happen. They have to look at their adjustments from season 1 to season 2. I think they could shorten the season. That would help with the injury issues as well. And I think it would give them like if they ran it from like January to free agency or something, like middle of January to the middle of February, and then ended with the one-on-one tournament and had like an exciting, like you don't need a whole regular season. Maybe you just do a tournament style play before March Madness. Just ideas, things to suggest. But most importantly, hope Angel's good.